Some greetings to John.
Yeah.
Except.
Good job.
Well, it's not quite 6:30. All right, 6:30, and I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have roll call, please.
Mayor Smith,
Here.
Trustee Valentine,
Here.
Trustee Stelter,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz,
Here.
Trustee Check,
Here.
Trustee Hunter, here, Trustee Heck.
Is excused. You have a quorum. Thank you. Could somebody make a motion to approve the agenda unless someone has some suggestions?
One change, no
Yes.
appreciations tonight.
No appreciations of great.
Though I have a lot to be appreciative of, but no town appreciations.
Okay, and I have one. Well, I have an announcement, no appreciation, sorry. I'm in the announcement zone. Okay, anybody have approval of the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
A second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So as trustee Swartz just let us know, she didn't have appreciations tonight. All good. And I just wanted to continue that the town is still accepting applications for a single seat on the tree board. Tree board meets, I believe it's the third Tuesday of the month here, and their meetings are agendized, and applications and a letter of interest have been extended till March 5th at 12:30 for anybody who would like to join us and join the tree board. And you do not have to be a town resident. You can be in or out of town. And we're also still looking to fill a seat on the zoning board of adjustments. And this is also one of those boards you do not have to be an in-town resident. And it meets very rarely when somebody has they want to come in and try to get a variance to what they were told primarily by our town administrator. And they do not meet very often. But and those are done as a public hearing as needed. And applications and the letter of interest are due also on March 5th at 12:30. So I encourage anybody who's has some interest to contact our clerk better, and you can get more information and more questions answered. And then I have an announcement, and I want to make everybody aware that the town has started a new express bill pay system where people can pay their utility bill. It was implemented and open to customers beginning on February 1st, and you can find a way to sign up if you go into the town's website. Under news, it is the first entry under news, and then it gives you all the instructions for signing up for it. It fully integrates with our Cassell water utility system, so it's a very smooth process between billing and payment. Customers that have registered their accounts can not only pay their bills online, but also view up to 2 years worth of water usage history alongside current usage as one of the main features. Other features include option to pay by debit or credit card or e-check. And there is a fee with the credit or debit card. And I believe it's kind of sliding based on how much you're spending on your bill. And I did it through my bank and it was $2 a transaction. If you get real-time integration of payments, automatic payments, paperless option, which I've signed up for, email and text notifications and reminders. You can view payment and usage, including the 2-year usage history, secure transactions with PCI compliance, multiple properties management support, options to pay by text or via the mobile app for iPhone or Android, and ability to set safety maximum limits. You don't necessarily have to make a payment through express bill pay, but if you register your account, you'll be able to view your bill and your usage. Alternatively, if you are hesitant to register just to pay your bill, you can use the checkout as a guest option too through this system. So to get more information, like I said at the beginning, visit the website And you scroll down and you'll find, it says select a payment box, but that's still under news.
No, there's on the website, there's a box called Make Payment.
On the top of the web of the homepage?
Just go down past the big picture.
Okay, okay, got that. Scroll down. I signed up before you had that, I think. And if you have any questions, please call Town Hall at 970-527-4101 or stop by Grand Avenue and they will show you how it's done. And like I said, I signed up. It was very easy and it's been really convenient. So we just want to let people know that is available. And that is all I have for announcement. Oh, good. Now you can show where to do it. Where was the link you just did?
Make a payment?
Oh, make a payment. Good grief. Honestly, I look at those all the time and I never see the one on the left, make a payment. Okay, well, thank you. About as easy as we get. If I was a snake, it'd bite me.
Did you also say that you can sign up for a digital bill?
I didn't because I don't quite understand what that is.
You can sign up through Express Bill Pay for an e-bill or a digital bill instead of relying on the blue postcards.
Paperless option.
Right,
So
and that,
paperless options
yes.
now.
So that's a little bit more information on the paperless option, which is what I'm going with. Any other announcements by the trustees? Okay. And this is the time for public comment. Anyone in the audience, either on Zoom or in here, hang on one second. You'll have 3 minutes, and I know there are instructions on the podium about the timer, but when the yellow light goes off, I believe you have 45 more seconds, but we have a 3-minute timing, and if you will just come up and give us your name, and if you live in town or out of town, and if you'll sign the sign-up sheet. So with that, I saw 2 hands go up, and the gentleman in that aisle, come on up.
Thank you. Where is the yellow light that I'll see?
Oh,
Oh, okay. So last town meeting, you said to get an appointment. So I went to town hall a couple times and tried to get a meeting. Still haven't heard from anybody. So I still want to get this cleared up. You know, I went and paid half of the taxes on that property today. I live at 106.5 3rd Street. I'm talking about the property at 594 Grand Avenue in Jania. So I paid half of the taxes on it today, which is taxed at a higher rate than if we had a house on it. Also, when we divided that property in 2018, we said we was going to get a water tap. And, you know, when I see this in the shopper, and I saw that in the shopper that there was going to be a moratorium. So that's why I got the tap in like 5 days before the moratorium went into effect. Then I see in the paper where trustees voted to publish legal notices by title only after seeing a large bill for the short-term rental with a 13 or $14 million budget. I think newspaper ad is little to ask for to keep people informed. Here's a picture I would like to have shown to the mayor and the town manager. There's 2 meters in front of my mom's place at 592 Grand. So, and there's a flag. So one of those meters needed to just be moved about 30 feet over for 594 Grand Avenue. I don't know if they put it in the wrong spot or what. Then I see in the paper, domestic water taps for sale. Location is near Midway off Highway 133. Call Dave for more information. So when I own 236 Main, which is the parking lot down here that's going to get paved, I owned it. It was a warranty deed when it was deeded over to me, the 8th of July of '95. And then I gave that to my mother and stepfather, and they ended up selling it to the town. And I asked that they transfer that water tap to their property, and was told that they were locked on the property. So whoever's advertising domestic water taps for sale, I don't know how this flies. Anyway, I still would like to come in. Mr. Wynn wanted to see pictures of the flooding that occurred at my mother's property. This is from 2013 and more pictures from 2021. And I didn't contact the town to come and help me with that disaster. Little to ask to put in something that I paid for, and I have the original receipts right here in my pocket.
Thanks. We'll get back with you. Anyone else? Did I see another hand? Yes. Come on up.
I'm Joe Yeamans, Pitkin Mesa. Whereas a clause of ordinance 2024-05 reads in part, it was determined that uncontrolled and unrecognized short-term rentals may also have a direct effect on the quality and character of the community and individual neighborhoods and properties in town. In 1978, my wife and I were looking for a place to live and to put down roots in a new community. It would be a small town and be a safe place where we could raise our children. It would have good schools, plenty of churches to choose from. There would be nearby mountains, forests, rivers, and orchards, and farms. There would be evidence that people cared for the condition of their homes and yards. My wife had her heart set on Dream Acres, which would be just outside of town and included an irrigated pasture for horses and room for a large garden. When we came over McClure Pass and down the valley, we saw a big white P, which we took to mean paradise. It was Paonia, and we chose that as our new hometown. However, housing was tight and Dream Acres was not available at that time. So we bought a house in town, did many upgrades and repairs. We lived there 9 years and grew to love the house. In the mid-'80s, several mines shut down, people moved away, and Dream Acres became available. We moved to Dream Acres on Pitkin Mesa in 1987. We kept the house in town and rented it long-term for 23 years. We had problems with collecting rent, damage to the house, neglect of the yard, excessive clutter, and complaints from neighbors about our renters. Finally, we were so fed up with all these issues, we changed the use of our house from a long-term rental to a short-term rental and have done that for the past 13 years. Now we have none of those problems that we did as long-term landlords. We clean, repair, make improvements, landscape, and water the yard ourselves, keeping everything neat and attractive for our short-term guests. We are pleased to see the town also recognizes the value of STRs. Another ordinance, or clause of the ordinance reads, whereas short-term rentals contribute to the local economy and support tourist-oriented businesses and allow local homeowners to supplement their income and provide flexibility in renting second homes and portions of their primary residence. We do recognize the problems that too many STRs cause in resort towns. There can be too few or too many. So logically, there is a Goldilocks zone somewhere in between. In my opinion, 5% is too few. We need to find the Goldilocks zone and regulate it there.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Anyone else in the audience or on Zoom who would like to speak for 3 minutes on something not on the agenda? Yes, sir. Forward, please.
I live in town. My name is Christopher Dalrymple. And I'm not a little emotional. Not a Democrat, not a Republican. But when I see people in the current administration in Washington, D.C., okay with giving the Sieg Heil salute, and I try and call Jeff Hurd 19 times a day, he don't answer the phone.
we all stood up. Said he was gonna defend that flag. And this thing that's taking hold is gonna be one of those things that you won't have to worry about until they're rolling down the street. And if you think I'm being alarmist, you can watch some documentaries, read some history books about how governments get torn down. And I don't want to start a fight with anybody. And I do not advocate physical violence. We have people in this community that openly advocate for the current administration's critics to be put in prison. Okay? I went to Standing Rock. I lived there for 3 months. I fought the bad guys. I've looked at it. So I think you guys need to ask yourself some questions about what you're going to do when that fight gets to this town, because it's going to get this there. We can't wait for 4 years. Well, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, I don't care. I voted for Cornell West. You all probably never heard of Cornell West. That's fine. But I will stand up for this country. I will stand up for the rights to speak, be heard, and not be harmed by those words. And I think you guys need to ask yourself some questions about what you're going to do, because it's going to come here. Jeff Hurd ducked out on us twice. There was 400 people there wanted to talk to him. And I don't think all 400 of those people were very pleased. So I'm red, white, and blue, just redneck, white collar, redneck, white collar, blue-hearted America. I just hope y'all think about it just a little bit. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Nope. Anyone on Zoom with a hand up? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the consent agenda, which included the February 11th regular meeting minutes and renewal of the liquor license for Flying Fork and disbursements. And I know we have a couple things that we would like to describe that are in disbursements. But before we go there, do any trustees have any comments on the meeting minutes or the liquor license renewal? Okay. I will turn it over to Administrator Nguyen just to give us a few of the things that are in the disbursements that are a little different.
There was one that you wanted me to talk about, and there's another one that I wanted to talk about, so I've forgotten which one you.
We added a lot of the information on the Vermeer back
Oh,
truck. And the fact that it's in there, but not in the disbursements we're approving tonight.
yeah.
And
So I'll go to Vermeer first. So you're seeing an additional, what you normally wouldn't see in a disbursements packet. You've already approved this purchase for Vermeer. We realized after having it for a couple of months that they had never sent us an invoice. And so that's what this is. It's the invoice that shows you've already approved this. We have finally paid it and given them a check. We had to cut a manual check because we were so many months behind, but we were waiting on an invoice. The other one I want to draw attention to is Earthworks. So this is our contractor that's doing work out at the water tank area. I'm up at our water treatment plant. They did something a little bit different. So since this is a construction project, they're supposed to go through our construction inspection engineer, which is SGM, and they bypassed them on this invoice. So it made it into our disbursement run, but didn't go through the proper channels. So we've corrected that. You will see a pay application number 4. Pay application number 3. It'll be pay app number 3, and this amount will balance out. So the $12,205 is actually for change order number 1. It's in this pay app number 3. What we're going to do is reduce the request by $12,205, but still pay them what's in that pay app 3, and they're going to get 2 checks. So it's a long roundabout way to say it's going to balance out. And they've already been advised that you cannot try to just get it to another employee to slip into an invoice run. It has to go through SGM first That's the established process. The issue that we're having is they were late to get that to SGM. They got it to them yesterday. SGM went through, did their pay application number 3 and have approved it. It is something you guys have already approved budget-wise, so we may cut a manual check for them, but it'll end up being 2 checks, this one and then another manual check.
So are you referring to in the last agenda packet, we had 2 change orders?
Correct.
So the second one is the one you're referring to. So we jumped over the second one and we're on the third one?
We're on the first one. So the
Oh.
$12,205 is the construction, the concrete box.
Right, so that one we approved last meeting.
You've approved change order 1 and 2.
Yeah. And
Which-
that's, we're paying for the first one through this, okay.
That's right. So it's a long roundabout way to say, accounting wise, it's going to add up. They're just going to get 2 checks to satisfy that payout.
2 checks to equal $12,205.
No, the payout number 3, you haven't seen yet because we just got it today, is like $78,000. And so it'll be reduced by this $12,205. They've already.
Because they were including that in the 78.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay, and we haven't seen this.
you have not
Yeah,
yet.
okay.
So we just got it today and SGM had reviewed it.
Yes, trustee.
How was
Hunt.
that caught?
What's that?
How was it caught that they didn't go through the proper channels?
Today, when we received the pay app from SGM and our accountant, our Kaja, our deputy treasurer goes, hey, this isn't right. This is duplicative. And she was absolutely right. So
Okay,
we caught it, she caught it, and then we internally have already had a discussion with SGM to say, you guys, we've got to rein them in. And so also internally with staff, if they try to send us an invoice or something for payment, doesn't matter if it's a public works person out in the field, it is not the proper way to pay this project. Has to go through our construction inspection engineer. Has to. Because they're checking quantities, is what they're doing.
can I then ask about the second change order that we saw last meeting? Did you
Sure.
have two?
Yeah.
So that one's still waiting. That one is not in this disbursement.
No, this is just for that change order number 1,
Yeah,
but it really should have been in that pay app number 3.
okay.
So we, and like I said, we're checking quantities to make sure we're not going over the NTE and that they are meeting their contractual obligations. So our internal controls process, Kyle.
So one last question. So tomorrow or Thursday, will we see this check for 12,205?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and so you'll
And then
be
it'll
presented with
taken out in the
something.
future.
Yeah, you'll be presented with something tomorrow as well for a manual check for this pay app number 3. And we've told, it's coming, that these 2 checks will go to them with, if you want paid on this date, then you need to have things to SGM on this date. We're so close to being done with this contract that we'll probably have 1 or 2 more pay apps left. So.
Thanks for the explanation. Now we know tomorrow what we're seeing, or Thursday, whenever it is.
And so it is a learning experience for all of our staff who haven't done a project yet. But we've got like 2, 3 very large projects coming up in the future where it's going to be really important that our construction inspection engineer is matching up quantities. It's going to be important. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Any other questions on the consent agenda? With that in mind, would somebody like to make a motion to approve it?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, that passes. Thank you. We have staff reports, the departmental scorecard, which starts on page 34 of the packet, if that helps people get their bearings.
Okay, so this has been updated, and as I explained in a previous town administrator's report, that there is a new column here. It's alignment with strategic plan. What you're going to see this change from is, instead of just being the 5 pillars, it'll also be one of the 5 pillars, one of the goals, and then a strategy. So we'll drill down to show that we are actually meeting the things that we've decided are priorities for town within that strategic plan with the budget. Over the last couple of days, I've met with 2 reporters who wanted to know about projects and how we're progressing with the town, how productive we're being. And This is something that is kind of foreign. Using an alignment with a strategic plan is something that is a little foreign to Delta County. So I want to say that we're at least innovative here, even though this is something that's been around for quite a while. So I am happy to have added this. I think it adds another layer of, hey, we're actually hitting targets and goals. So if you have any questions on some of the things we're working on, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I won't go through all of this in detail. There's many pages.
I would say maybe just, oh, sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
the ones where you have red. But, and did you have your hand up?
I did
Yes.
just have a question.
That's all.
I can't tell you what the red is. That's something that our clerk took on herself. I think it's an addition, right, to what has been written before.
An update.
An update, so. And so one of the big things that was going on with express bill pay is there was a conflict between American Express and Express Bill Pay over how they're going to collect fees. And that was stopping some of the payments that were being made by Amex from going through. Ruben fixed it. So he got with them to make sure that they would get it taken care of. And Express Bill Pay has been incredibly responsive. I think they fixed it in 2 days. Yeah, it was something crazy. So, which we didn't have with our previous vendor. We still had things that were outstanding for 8 months. So.
Okay, my question is, well, first my comment is I really appreciate you keeping us abreast of federal grants and the status of them. I don't know, like, I'm so hesitant to move forward with large outlays of capital until we know the final status of grants. And I don't know if this needs a work session or do I need to bring this forward? But like, I look at, fingers crossed everything goes through, we get our grants, et cetera. I don't think this is a surprise to you that I'm hesitant right now because of the uncertainty of what's happening at the federal level and the idea of spending a lot of money that we could have got funded by grants and that we pulled from our general budget or general reserves makes me very uncomfortable, even if it was budgeted for.
Can you be a little more specific?
Yeah, let's take the Main Street revital or safe pathways to schools. That makes me very nervous to spend money on that. Even though it's an amazing project, but the water system, we have to keep moving forward.
So how do you want me to?
I'll just say that would definitely be a trustee decision because we are ready to go with that project. And we do have money in hand, which we would have to give back.
So maybe it'll make you feel a little bit better with what's going on next week for me, for the town. So on Tuesday, the mayor and I go and present for a $1 million EIAF Tier 2 grant to go towards the Western Loop water main replacement project. That is state funded. It's not federally funded. If we get it, awesome. Our chances of getting some of what we ask for are great. All of it, not as great as getting some of it. And then on Friday, I present for the state revolving fund about $9.7 million to fund all of our water projects. So those are in, actually, I think I can pull this up really quick. We just recently got good news. So when you buy a house and you get a loan, you like see how credit worthy you are. Well, we got a credit worthiness report from DOLA and CDPHE that's going to the authority that we're going to present on next Friday. I got it today, and it was actually really good. So our credit worthiness is really good. They said that and I want to pull it up for you. So give me a second so I think it's going to be important to see that this actually is funding that isn't federal funds. And we do qualify for disadvantaged community status, which gives principal loan forgiveness. And our score was pretty high. So those are really good things that are going for us. And they aren't federal funds that are coming in. It's actually the state revolving fund. I believe what they're going to do is package a bunch of local communities loans together and sell them as bonds. So let me pull this up.
And I have no issues with that, like with this, because it's funded through the state. I'm more thinking about some of the larger grants.
Where did it pull up? There it is.
The raises. The raise grant. I think you are referring to the raise grant that we submitted, and they actually changed the name of the,
To build.
to build.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, oh, hang on one second. So, and why don't you continue?
Yeah, so because we're talking two different pots of money. We're talking general fund funding that's funded with capital improvement. A lot of it is the marijuana 5-cent or $5 transaction tax. And then we're also talking about our enterprise utilities. But our creditworthiness report was actually really good. So I was pretty happy to see with what they presented for us. And all of this is information that we provided for them, and then they packaged together in this really nice presentation that helps the authority board make their decision on whether or not they're going to fund this. Let's see.
Who issued this?
This is coming from DOLA. This is a DOLA thing that they put together after we gave them all the information. So, I mean, they are recommending that we are funded, and then they recommend that the DWRF committee approve a $3 million disadvantaged community direct loan, a $3,744,000 leverage loan, and $3 million in DWRF, whatever that BIL program is, which is the supplemental. Oh, it's the supplemental principal forgiveness. So it would be up to. They're recommending that we get that full $3 million principal forgiveness in the loan. So this is what we're presenting on Friday. I'm really hoping that it gets approved. We got pulled out of the consent agenda, just like 80% of applications got pulled out of the consent agenda because our application came in at a time where the interest rate went up 1%. So we're now at 3.25% instead of sub 3. And so because of that, 80% of applications got pulled out of a consent agenda, and then they all have individual, they'll each individually be voted on. So, but the good news is that we're coming highly recommended for all of these different programs. And I think we're going to get something. If it's not the full $3 million, we're going to get some principal forgiveness, which in our budget and our rate increases, we didn't really account for getting any of that, just in case we didn't get anything. Now, getting that principal loan forgiveness really helps us because we have $20 million more of projects coming down the pike that we'll have to budget for over the next 4 or 5 years. So I did want to give you that little bit, but then also on the build grant, or this raise grant that's changed to build, we are going to try to hold off as long as possible before we put out an RFP. That's we've had these internal discussions. That's our plan to do that. The likelihood of us getting a full $2.9 million when there's like 51 million available is not that great. But we could get something. And the last thing that I would want to see is that we go forward with something and I put out an RFP, we get an RFP, and we either have to go back through that process and tell the winning bidder or the winning proposer, hey, we can't do this, or we lose out. So that's the last thing on my mind. I'm trying to see. I would want to see that we are getting as much supplemental revenue as we can for the town. Now, the other one that's out is the Safe Routes to School. We haven't heard on that one yet. It isn't a federal grant, it's through CDOT. However, I believe they are funded through a federal program, and we don't know the status on that. So I don't know if they've already received funding or not, but we're still waiting on that. We're waiting on those 2 applications.
And could you it's the Safe Routes for All. right?
That's,
For Safe Streets for All.
that's safe routes to school. CERTS is a Colorado CDOT program that is funded federally, so we don't know the status of that, but our application is in. The other one that we're talking about is the safe, this is a IIJA, that one of the Jobs Acts, federal grants that is, it's called Safe Streets for All, and it's a federal highway administration. That one, although we have an active contract, it is sitting in DC. We haven't received a notice to proceed, so I can't do anything as far as trying to hire a consultant, or we don't get the money. And the same thing holds through with another IIJA funded program through WaterSmart, the grant that's already fully executed. We've been told, do not do anything because you won't be able to get reimbursement. You may have to go through the process again. And so we are paused on both of those. The bigger thing is the likelihood of us getting that full $2.9 million is pretty slim.
The grant.
Yeah, because they reduced it to 50, it was reduced to 51 million, so.
Mary, well, hang on.
But if that's a discussion you guys want to have, that's something in the workshop, another meeting that we can have. We're not ready to put out an RFP yet, so.
And I just wanted to say, it sounds like we have some time. Plus, we were told not to spend for those two grants you just described long before the administration changed.
Correct.
Because that's been that's on that form where it keeps saying on the very bottom, you can't do anything yet, you're not approved, not approved, not approved. And that's been since middle of last year, wasn't it? I can't remember the dates on that table, but.
We cannot do anything until, even if we have a fully executed agreement, we can't do anything until they issue a notice to proceed.
Right.
So even with that fully signed, and that's where some communities have gotten hung up, is they have a signed agreement, they go do it real quick, they go, well, you never got a notice to proceed, we weren't ready to fund you yet. And so that's what we're waiting on, is getting that NTP is really important. And right now we're waiting on the Bureau of Rec to give us that one for WaterSmart, and we're waiting on Federal Highway to give us the one for Safe Routes for All.
Thank you for that very thorough and clear explanation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and it does, I know you said this last meeting, but it's very helpful to hear that we're not moving forward with things until we're being very cautious and holding off as long as we can.
We are pushing on water.
Yeah, of course,
We're pushing.
that's 100%.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit different because most of that is through the state.
Mary, if you would come up, and I'm only doing this because you are a contractor for us. Normally, we wouldn't have an audience input at this point, but your input would be great.
Okay, I just want to remind you that the RAISE grant and the Safe Routes to School grant together are $3.18 million. And that's much more than the balance that we have left on that grant. So even if we get the Safe Routes to School and we don't get the RAISE grant, which I don't have a lot of faith that we're going to get the RAISE grant, but if we don't, even if we get the Safe Routes to School grant, most of that is now covered.
Thank you, Mary. And maybe we'll have more grant topics for an agenda item at the first meeting in April, if we learn anything. Otherwise,
Start seeing no-fos come out, we'll bring them to you.
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah. Okay.
there have been no no-fos, which is kind of unusual.
Anybody have any comments or questions on the checklist? And that's not what we're calling it. What are we calling it? Scorecard, sorry. Okay. We will move on to actions and presentations. With the first one being consideration of amending the contract with Wright Water Engineering for the hydrogeological study. And I'm going to turn that over to Administrator Wynn.
Got some kind of disappointing news, but also happy for our hydrologist. Marshall Hayworth is leaving Wright Water Engineering. And so he's going to another firm. And part of what we're trying to do is, what we had to figure out is we have to do an extension of an agreement that includes not only extending that contract longer, but also naming a new project manager. The good news is Jonathan has been our engineer throughout this whole process. He's worked alongside Marshall. You saw him present here as well. He's very knowledgeable. And he was a co-project manager for this one. I'll need to sign it too. That we're looking forward to continuing this relationship with Wright Water Engineering. What they do between themselves and Marshall as maybe a sub-consultant thing, that's between them. And I suggested that to them when I had them in a meeting, like, because some of the things for the subsurface exploration was in Marshall's head, but a lot of his team had been there doing the existing exploration of our water spring complexes. So what this contract extension does is extends this legally, extends this contract through the end of this upcoming season so we can finish the hydrogeological study, and then also names Jonathan as our project manager himself. So.
Questions from the trustees? Yes, trustee Schwartz.
Where it says to accommodate unforeseen delays outside of the control of the town or Whitewater, is that just Marshall leaving, or what can you describe it?
Yeah, we had a very wet end of season that made it really difficult for people to get up onto the mountain to actually do the work. We ran into some issues with being able to, with brush clearing, to be able to do the subsurface exploration. And so all of that is being taken care of the first of the season as soon as we can. We've already selected a brush clearing contractor. That was an RFP we put out earlier this year, and they're ready to go, so that we were ready to go once the thaw hit. It'll still be a muddy mess, but at least they'll be able to start clearing brush. One of the other things that was an unforeseen was that the only quad that we had quit working, and we had to borrow the chief's to get up to get everybody up on the mountain. And then since then, we've also purchased 2 ATVs or UTVs to get up there. So those are those unforeseen circumstances that it wasn't, and I would have to agree with them. It wasn't the fault of Wright Water that they couldn't meet the contractual deadlines. It was just so much else going on.
Any other questions from trustees? Questions from folks in the audience or on Zoom? No hands? Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend the contract with Wright Water Engineers Incorporated and extend it to May 31st, 2026.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Our next one is consideration of resolution 07-2025 approving the loan with Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority. And that certainly needs, if you could add some explanation to that.
Yes,
Peter Wynn.
I sure can. So this is super confusing because it's not really a grant, but because it's a loan for the loan that we're going for on next Friday, but it's for the design and engineering. The difference that makes it kind of a grant is that it's a 100% forgivable loan, up to $300,000 for design and engineering. The letter that you have in front of you is the actual award. And then what you don't have in front of you, it's 28 pages, was the loan agreement that we, let's see, that is referenced by exhibit in this resolution. This Clay has already gone through and taken a look at it. He did give me some edits, like we had to put in that it needs to say that it's our water utility and those kinds of things. But it's a pretty standard agreement between the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority and municipalities. And so what this needs is we have to sign or pass a resolution saying we're approving the loan, the 100% $300,000 forgivable loan, and then also with this agreement saying we're okay with that as Exhibit A. And then I can finally draw on it and get some reimbursement, so.
So, and you already have the invoices to put towards the $300,000. You've just been waiting to get this.
That's right.
So once you submit the invoices, the town is repaid $300,000.
Yeah, and it was correct, and it was a little bit of a surprise knowing that there was still a resolution that we needed to do, because this has been awarded since, I want to say like 22, or what does that letter say? It was 2024. So it was like, well, okay, so we'll do a resolution. Any questions?
Questions from trustees on that? John, any questions from your end? Okay, thank you. Any questions from our audience or anybody on Zoom? Questions or comments? Okay.
I move to approve resolution 07-2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, consideration of appointments to Region 10 Board of Directors and the Gunnison Valley Transportation Planning Region.
Do you want me to take this one?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Mayor Smith has been on the board of directors and should continue, but we didn't do a formal, there wasn't a formal vote of the board to appoint. And so we were asked, hey, Mayor Smith has been doing this, but also we have this Gunnison Valley Transportation Planning Region that you're supposed to be a part of and have board members on, but Paonia, you've never participated. So we took this as an opportunity to appoint both the mayor and myself and Corey and Nikki as alternates to the GVTPR. So the mayor to the board of directors for Region 10, and then myself to the GVTPR board of directors with our two public works directors as alternates.
I guess this means I have to start submitting reports.
Because it'll be official.
Yeah, yay, okay. Any questions? Questions from the audience, Zoom? All right.
I'll take my step. So I move to appoint Mayor Smith for the Region 10 Board of Directors and Town Administrator Wynn to the GVTPR Board with Public Works Director Heiniger and Deputy Public Works Director Gazaldi as alternates.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
I,
All right, last item, number 4. I proposed this to you all because I was hearing about, well, first of all, we got an email, Stefan and myself got an email from Senator Hickenlooper's office about a week ago, alerting everyone to the fact that originally the Trump administration had canceled all the summer interns for the National Park Service. So they were just letting us know that because of the impacts to, we're the gateway community, one of 3 for the Black Canyon, the Gunnison National Park. Well, the summer interns are now back on tap to be hired, but they did remove 1,000 positions in the National Park Service, and those have not been reinstated. So my concern is that the North Fork of the Gunnison, we do not know what's going to happen to that park opening. Are they going to have reduced hours with less staff? And it usually, it doesn't open until the spring, so we're not getting any information. So we also have an economic development nonprofit corporation that Administrator Wynn is on the board of called One Delta County. And they're responsible for economic development in Delta County. So what I'm proposing is I wrote a letter for you all to consider to One Delta County, asking them to reach out to the Park Service to find out if they are expecting either reduced hours at the northern side of the North Fork of the Gunnison or no hours, because it really does have an effect on Delta or Hotchkiss, Paonia, and Crawford and all of Delta County because people really love that side of the park. I love going there. It's the quiet side. people go out of their way to go there. If it's closed or closed less hours and people don't know when it's open, we have a high likelihood of losing revenue to businesses, tax revenue, et cetera, including for the entire county. So I created a letter for you all to sign, to send to the board of directors to Delta County. And then I took took it upon myself to create a letter for them to send to the Park Service director asking what is the proposed staffing level at the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park on the north side. So go ahead. Yes.
So being on the board of directors for One Delta County, I would rather bring what our community wants than just try to do something. And so that's why I asked that if we do want to ask the One Delta County to take a look at it, to have y'all make that into a formal vote and then, send a letter. And then it would just be up to me to try to get that, be on an agenda and then try to get them to agree to, by a majority vote, to pursue this. The one thing I would say is that if we do anything with a letter, I would maybe with instead of saying like the Trump administration's termination of 1,000 national park employee positions, to say executive administration termination, trying to it's a mixed bag, right? One Delta County is made up of a mixed bag of political affiliations, and I toe a pretty tight line on that board. So because I'm trying to integrate us back into the county and with bear hugs at times.
So you would like to have some euphemistic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, and let me just go back. So the mayor of the mayor of Hotchkiss was also CC'd by Senator Hickenlooper's office. I didn't see the mayor of Crawford on that email. And I have not reached out to either of those mayors. I just put them as a CC, a potential CC on our letter to One Delta County. So they saw what we were proposing to do to try to at least get an answer as to what's going to happen with that park this season, this summer season. So, and the content of the letter, I'm wide open to any editing. This is just my, out of the gate proposal. And I don't know if you do want to approve it, if you want any more CCs on the letter from Paonia to One Delta County. I did not do the long list, but I did do a long list of CCs in the draft letter from One Delta County to the head of the National Park Service. So, discussion. Hang on. Yes.
One of the things that also along with this is the wildfire firefighters are not being trained at this point. There's a halt on hiring them. And they need 90 days training before they can be officially, licensed, be a wildland firefighter. And we're coming up on the deadline. We may very well have a wildfire before we have wildfire firefighters. And that's equally as concerning as this. This is economic. We could lose an entire area with no firefighters.
I just want to answer that. I don't think we have a discrete number of people that have lost their jobs, and I don't know that we have that yet with the Forest Service to actually be able to.
They have a freeze on all
have a
hiring.
bigger, yeah. But this is one that had direct impact on the town. I agree with you on the firefighters, but it's a little harder to put that together to try to get information, because I honestly don't know how many firefighters we have normally. So, but we do know that the park has to be, in order for the park to be open, there has to be staff. And we all benefit from that park being open. So I'm not discounting what you're saying. It's just a tougher one to articulate.
And just remember, even though we may send this to One Delta County, I may be outvoted. So that's why I'm trying to maybe make it as, hey, we're worried about an economic impact, regardless of who made a decision. We're worried about an economic impact in our communities.
Yes, trustee Schwartz.
Given the fact that perhaps one Delta County could just nix it, why don't we send it ourselves?
Yes.
My personal thought was to just come from us would not do much. But if it came from the economic consortium for the entire county and they recognize the impact to everybody in the county, we would have a little bit more traction. I mean, in the absence of them doing anything, sure, I'd like to get Hotchkiss and Crawford, but again, you know, our little town of Paonia just doesn't really have a big hat with the National Park Service, in my opinion. But we can still do it if we get shut out by one Delta County.
When is the next meeting? I'm just thinking about timing, because it feels like we don't have a lot of time for bureaucracy. It's just like.
Well, the other thing is, in the meantime, we might learn what's going on, because the park doesn't usually open, I think, until late April, May, when the snow clears. So in this way, we've got a little bit of time before we actually hear what they're gonna do. But Florissant National Monument just closed 2 days a week. And they have reinstated some employees, but it's really piecemeal, depending on the park. So I'm not saying we shouldn't send it. We could still send it anyway, if we know that either way. But I think if we're under a bigger umbrella, it might have more impact. Hang on one second. Let me just make sure. John, any other comments from you?
No, thanks for asking.
Okay, we'll take public comment. I'm gonna.
Mary Becker. I have to agree with trustee Schwartz. I think, or Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz, I think we really should send it to the Department of the, well, whatever, the Park Service. And I can't remember where that falls under, but I really think it doesn't matter that we're just a dinky little community. We are a voice, and a voice that says that your actions are harming us. And I think the more voices that stand up and say we have a problem, the more chance we have of actually making a difference. So we may just be a check in a column, we may be just a little thing. We have to, I think, stand up for this community and the economic interests of this community and say, what you are doing is harming us. So yeah, I think send it to one Delta County. Yes, if we can get one, but I think we should send one out.
And I don't know if it's worth sending it before. I feel like we have to get an idea if Delta County is going to do it. I feel like if we send it preemptively before we know, or if we see their meeting isn't until June.
It's not. So I just pulled it up because until Mayor Johnson from Crawford gets back to us, I am also the de facto executive board member for one Delta County, representing the North Fork. And our next meeting is March 4th at 3:30. And then the one Delta County board meeting is March 24th.
Which one could you get a vote from?
I would have a pretty good idea what the executive board was thinking on March 4th.
So that's.
I would CC Jeff Hurd.
He is. On the CC list on our letter to one Delta County only includes Crawford and Hotchkiss. I didn't CC the world, but a pretty big universe is CC'd on the one from one Delta County to the National Park Service. But again, all this is a draft, and that was just my thought process at the time. So anything could be modified, but I did want I thought the one Delta County one. And if we don't get a one Delta County, it'd be nice to have a motion to send one from us, and I would expand the CC list to everybody. Well, actually, if you look at the second letter, you can see who's CC'd on that. It's the second last page. Cedar Ridge, Orchard City, Delta County, Senators Bennett, Hickenlooper, and Congressman Jeff Hurd. And Paonia Hotchkiss Crawford. So it sounds like one of those things that you will know on the 4th And would this be the kind of thing that we would mail to the executive director? Or you would bring it with you and have it get put on the
I
agenda?
would bring it ahead of time and ask.
Get it on the
if you
agenda.
agree to put it on the agenda.
Okay, good, thank you for that, knowing that date, so we'll know if we're running along or not.
Stab at it if you're ready.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to make an emotion, not an emotion. Make a motion to approve signing the letter from the Board of Trustees to the Board of One Delta County, asking One Delta County to send a letter, draft of which has been provided to the National Park Service regarding staffing levels planned at Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park with the following edits: that any reference to the Trump administration be changed to something to the effect of the federal administration, the executive branch, something without naming actual names. And also, if One Delta County denies that request, that this come back before the Board of Trustees to say, or I guess I can just say that we send it directly from Paonia, town of Paonia,
Without coming back here.
without coming back here.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Did that make sense?
I didn't ask for any other public input, but I don't see any hands. All right. We have a motion and a second, and the motion was appropriately captured. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for taking the initiative to do this. This is so important, and I think it's important that we continue to take a stand on things that have an impact in our community.
Thank you for recognizing that too.
Just one
Yes.
comment that's related to this. There's an app on your cell phone. It's called 5Calls. And you
And-
can easily sign up for it, and it gives you the phone numbers of all of our representatives. And you can call daily, and it really does work. I'm having a little difficulty with Mr. Hurd. He seems not to have office hours nor staff. But other than that, it works.
Thank you. And on that note, I adjourn this meeting. Kevin.